On the 25th of January in 2007, negotiations between Mbombela and the commercial banks concerning the debt portion reached closure, and an amount of 3.1 billion was agreed to be advanced, with Rand Merchant Bank and Standard Bank acting as the lead arrangers. Now, Nedbank was appointed as the bank responsible for managing the project's financial transactions and issuing the project bonds. The debt component from commercial banks was made up of two tranches of senior debt. The first tranche had a vanilla floating rate, while the second had a rate linked to the consumer price index or inflation. The senior debt was also supplemented by mezzanine funding and standby facilities. So the commercial bank's contribution was therefore limited to the senior debt facilities, amounting to approximately 10% of the project's capital expenditure. The national and provincial governments committed to fund 22 billion by way of an effective grant. The Mbombela Consortium shareholders also injected 500 million rand in equity, together with the standby equity facility of 150 million. It was anticipated that performance guarantees and credit facilities provided by contractors over the 54-month construction period would also come to a total of 3.3 billion. Now, the capital structure was not a primary issue on the Gautrain, because the government grant was expected to cover 88% of the capital expenditure. Capital availability and access was the primary consideration, and as a result, the capital structure differs substantially from most project finance transactions. The commercial banks applied private sector principles, and they extended credit only to the extent that the forecast cash flows would support and service the debt obligations. On account of these factors, the Gautrain ended up with a debt-to-equity ratio of approximately 28% debt, 72% equity on completion of construction. The massive equity component, largely from the public purse, reflected the fact that this was primarily a government or public sector funded project. And the commercial banks enjoyed a high degree of comfort on this transaction as a result of the massive capital injection by the public sector. So the private-public partnership regulations and the rigorous process that they prescribed made sure the project was navigated in such a way that made sense to the commercial banks, and it gave them a lot of security on the project. And the bankers expressed the overall satisfaction with advancing facilities because they had very, very good lawyers, ensuring that all the engineering, the procurement, the construction processes, the contracting arrangements had the right risk allocation, and the lenders were indemnified from residual contracting risk. Lenders weren't worried about the actual delivery of the project, but they were more concerned regarding risk of project delays. And the capital structure was impacted by the fact that the project budget commenced at 25 billion, and the project, when it was finally concluded, came in at above 30 billion. And this excess was caused by changes in the scope that led to variations in the project. Now, the concession agreement explicitly stated that the cost of scope variations was borne by the provincial government and not by the concessionaire. So the provincial government bore all the cost of the increased amounts required for this project as a result of those scope variations.